The day was radiant, the sun casting its warm embrace upon the world. It was the kind of day that whispered promises of adventure and exploration. Sarah, my girlfriend, and I had decided to seize the opportunity and escape into the tranquility of the woods. We packed a picnic, loaded up the car, and set off on our journey, eager to immerse ourselves in the wonders of nature. As we drove deeper into the forest, the verdant canopy above enveloped us in a cocoon of green. The air was alive with the chirping of birds and the rustle of leaves, and I felt a sense of peace wash over me. Sarah reached over and squeezed my hand, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "This is perfect," she said, her voice filled with joy. And indeed it was. We spent the morning wandering through the woods, hand in hand, lost in our own little world. We picnicked by a babbling brook, the sound of running water a soothing melody to our ears. But as the day wore on, a sense of unease began to creep into my mind. It was subtle at first, a nagging feeling at the back of my consciousness, but it soon grew stronger, gnawing at me like a hungry beast. I brushed it off as nothing more than nerves, a product of spending too much time alone in the wilderness. But then, as we rounded a bend in the trail, I saw a flash of movement out of the corner of my eye. I stopped in my tracks, my heart pounding in my chest. Sarah looked at me, concern etched on her face. "What is it?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. I shook my head, unable to find the words to describe what I had seen. But deep down, I knew that something was terribly wrong. I took a tentative step forward, my eyes scanning the dense undergrowth for any sign of movement. And then I saw it again, a shadowy figure lurking behind a tree, its form obscured by the foliage. My breath caught in my throat as I realized that we were not alone in the woods. Whatever it was watching us, studying us with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. "Sarah, do you see that?" I whispered, my voice barely above a hoarse whisper. She followed my gaze, her eyes widening in alarm as she caught sight of the creature. Fear flickered across her features, mirroring my own terror. "What? What is that?" she stammered, her voice trembling with fear. But before I could respond, the creature emerged from its hiding place, stepping into the dappled sunlight with an eerie grace. It was unlike anything I had ever seen before, a grotesque amalgamation of animal and human features, with eyes that burned with a fierce intelligence. I felt a surge of primal fear grip me as the creature fixed its gaze upon us, its lips curling into a sinister grin. Without a word, it turned and vanished into the depths of the forest, leaving us standing there in stunned silence. For a moment, neither of us moved, the shock of what we had just witnessed paralyzing us with fear. But then, as if on cue, Sarah grabbed my arm and pulled me towards the car, her voice urgent. "We need to get out of here now," she said, her eyes wide with panic. I nodded, my mind reeling with a million questions and no answers. Without a second thought, I turned and followed her, the sound of our footsteps echoing through the silent woods as we fled from the unknown terror that lurked within. As we drove away, the image of the creature burned into my mind, its haunting gaze following us even as we left it behind. What had we encountered in those woods? And more importantly, would we ever be able to forget the terror that had gripped us in its icy grasp? Only time would tell. The drive back felt like an eternity, each passing mile weighed down by the heavy silence that enveloped us. My hands clenched the steering wheel tightly, my knuckles turning white with tension as I struggled to make sense of what we had just experienced. Sarah sat beside me, her gaze fixed on the road ahead, her thoughts undoubtedly consumed by the same questions that tormented me. What was that creature? Where had it come from? And most importantly, was it still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike? I stole a glance at her, noting the pale pallor of her skin and the haunted look in her eyes. She was scared, just as I was, but beneath the fear, I could see a steely determination, a resolve to put this nightmare behind us and never look back. But try as we might to push the memories aside, they lingered like a shadow in the back of our minds, refusing to be ignored. Every rustle of leaves, every fleeting movement in the undergrowth sent a jolt of adrenaline coursing through my veins, my heart hammering in my chest. And as the sun began to sink below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, we finally emerged from the forest, our sanctuary within sight. But even as we pulled into the safety of civilization, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, that the creature was still out there, lurking in the darkness, waiting for its next opportunity to strike. As we stepped out of the car and into the welcoming glow of streetlights, I breathed a sigh of relief, the tension slowly draining from my body. But deep down, I knew that this was far from over, that the true terror of that day would stay with us for a lifetime, a reminder of the dangers that lurk in the unknown corners of the world. And so, as we made our way home, I vowed to never speak of what we had seen, to bury the memory deep within the recesses of my mind and pretend that it had never happened. But deep down, I knew that some secrets are too powerful to be forgotten, that the truth will always find a way to resurface, no matter how hard we try to bury it. But for now, at least we were safe. And as long as we stayed together, I knew that we could face whatever horrors the world threw at us together, as one.
See